Hello, and welcome back to ShrubSMP, Season 7. This is Episode 29. And we are picking up right where we left off at the end of last episode, here on top of the Dark Castle's tower, and we have now upgraded the server to version 1.21.5, just like we said we were going to, and since we did that over this past week, Minecraft announced, or Mojang announced, that version 1.21.7. Well, I've done it again. I've missaid something, whether it's an item or a version number. 1.21.6 is what I meant to say. Back to the action. It is going to be released imminently on June 17th. Now, this is being filmed over a period of time just before that, and maybe released either just on that date or just after that date. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to scramble to kind of find all of the cool features that we wanted to find for 1.21.5, and then as soon as all of my mod pack loaders and mod packs and data packs are ready for version 1.21.6, we will upgrade the server yet again, because that is going to be one cool update. It's the update that brings us the Happy Ghasts, which we are looking forward to really getting into this game. But in the meantime, we have to kind of see what's available to us in 1.21.5, and I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised when I loaded up, because I can see right down here, being in a desert, one of the new features, most of the features are plant related, and as we can see right atop that cactus, it is a cactus flower, which fortunately for us, I think it looks like they're growing in this biome. They just kind of started to generate on the cactuses. Usually what'll happen in a version update, which unfortunately with the rest of the plant life in this one, is that they will only generate in new chunks, which we're going to have to go on a little bit of an adventure today to find. But since we're here, and since we have one, look at how cool that is, right on top of the cactus, I believe we can just hop up there and knock it off. Hopefully the cactus will not eat it up. There we go. We got it in our inventory, and as we can see up there, it unlocks pink dye, because these things can be turned into pink dye, but we don't want to do that because we want to use the cactus flowers for decoration. So we'll collect a few more, and then, wow, look at all these ones that are kind of, we have this row of cactuses. It's kind of like a protective barrier over here, but look at how many just kind of generated right on top of the cactus. That's pretty cool. So we'll collect these up. Does it break? It does break. That's unfortunate. So maybe we can, I don't want to knock these cactuses down, so we'll just collect a few of them and then get, oh wait, is that a double? That's kind of a bonus. That's nice. So we now have 7 of them. Now we've at least started our journey on collecting all of the different plants that we want to collect in this version. And like I said, we're going to have to go do some adventuring. So let's get organized, get some things ready to go, and then figure out how to find some of those new generated chunks so we can find some of these things. We'll talk about what they are on the way, and let's get all set to do that right now. Alright, so I have my boat and I have plenty of rockets in my inventory. I also got an ender chest to carry all kind of extra stuff that I'll need to head on this adventure, but I figured I'd stop by the spawn area and check out the Postmaster General's post office, because I know that we have these letters that different shrubs could use to write things to the different players on the server, and I figured I could just go ahead and grab a book and I can use it to kind of create a little checklist, traveling checklist of the different plants in version 1.21.6. I did it again. That we're heading out to collect. So I am just going to head on up to this table, kind of sit down and hang out with the Postmaster General here and write some things down and get ready for this adventure. Alright, well, after a little brainstorming session, we have come up with the following list of new items to find. They are the Firefly Bush, Wildflowers, a new bush, which is just kind of a regular green bush for the new texture, short dry grass, long dry grass, and of course leaf litter, which are kind of leaves that can spread around the ground underneath trees. So that's it. That's the list we want to try to accomplish by finding them in today's episode before we're out of here. And to do that, we have our boat. Like I said, we got plenty of rockets, and I have a chest full of supplies, so that means it's time to take off and see what we can find out there. All right, well, I've been flying and traveling all over, and I believe I've been loading a lot of new chunks, and I just flew over. Yep, there it is, right down on the ground. The first of the new features, it is the leaf. Wow, there's so much of it all over the place in this forest, but let's get down here and see it up close. The leaf litter. Oh, it started a forest fire. Oh no, forest fire. Put it out, put it out, put it out. Oh, don't burn the birch. We love birch so much. Please, please, please. Oh, well, it's gonna be self-contained, we'll say, at the very least. But at the wow, a lot of adventure right there, just for some leaf litter. But at the very latest, we have found at least our first piece of new decoration, and there it is, the leaf litter, as we can see in our inventory. And if I'm not mistaken, it can be placed. Yep, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4. It can be placed 4 at a time, and I believe it's recreatable. But just in case, we're going to collect a whole bunch of it right here, since there seems to be plenty of it around, and then we'll head back to the skies and see if we can find our next bit. As a matter of fact, before we do that, let's head right into the book and check off our very first new item, and that is the leaf litter. We'll put a little X right in between the brackets, just like that, and that'll help us keep track of the remaining items that we need to find on our adventures out here for 1.21.5. There's more leaf litter on the ground, and we'll have to abandon this forest fire, unfortunately, because we got plenty of other places to go. So I'll keep doing that, and we'll take back to the skies and see what we can find next. Alright, well, I've been collecting a lot more of this leaf litter so that I can fill up a full shulker box, and while I was doing it, I found down here by the edge of the water some of the new bushes. So obviously, I think to get these bushes out, you can use a shear, or I can use a silk touch pickaxe like I have right here. And there it is, and if we look into our inventory, bush. Okay, so we have at least some of those, and I believe they're also, I'll have to check. Now, I came out here without knowing whether or not these are renewable by bone meal. I know the flowers are, I know the grasses are. I don't know whether or not the bush or the leaf litter is. And as a matter of fact, I believe you can actually make leaf litter if you burn leaves. Kind of makes sense because they're dead leaves and then you can burn them up. But regardless, we now have to check off, if we can go into our book, a second item, because we've got the bush item, and now we still have several more to go. So now I think we can finally fly away from this place because we have plenty collected and find some more areas. All right, well, I actually didn't get too far. Still over here with the leaf litter. As you can see there, down on the ground behind me. Forgot to mention, there is something else that we're not going to add to the book per se, but there is a new little feature here in this version, and that is naturally fallen trees. This is a birch tree that you can see here. There's the stump, and actually it's just on its side. It's really just logs that are overturned, but they get naturally generated now in the new chunks, and it's always kind of fun. For years and years, Minecraft players have been kind of putting logs over on their sides to represent fallen trees, and sooner or later Mojang took that idea, added it to the game, and there it is, a fallen tree out in the wild. So once again, it's time to fly off and continue to fly around looking for some of those other items that are in the book, but it just couldn't escape that area without seeing just one more feature. Alright, well, here we are, flying over another new area, and as we can see below, look at all those yellow dots. They certainly look different, and that is because those look like the wildflowers. We can go, it's also night, so let's head on down, wait for night to fall, and yes, those are definitely wildflowers, and I know for these, we can definitely bone meal these, so we only need a few before the sun goes down, and then we head on our way. But just like pink, you know, the cherry blossom flowers, those things, yeah, right. And also the leaf litter, you can place up to 4 at a time, and they make a little pattern, so that'll be fun playing with those. We only need a few, like I said, because we can bone meal them. The light is definitely getting darker, so let's sleep the night away and then head on our way. Well, we got to mark it off in the book, so we'll just hop right up and get our book ready if we can. Hop right in there and find the wildflowers, right like that. And actually, as I was flying through in the sky, I did see a swamp kind of just a little bit farther, so let's stick with this for the moment. And there's the jungle, there's a swamp over there. There might actually be some of the firefly bushes. I think I might actually see a couple of those, a bunch of chickens. But, oh yes, there they are. All right, look at that. cool Firefly bushes. Now, these are some of the things that are probably the most cool feature. Because I just slept the night away and we're not actually in darkness, we'll have to wait to demonstrate it. But the Firefly bushes themselves are kind of neat. See how they twinkle randomly with these little lights that are on them. But they also release fireflies themselves into the air around them. And they can be used for not only decoration, but then also to kind of a little bit of animation in the air. Particles that kind of go in a local area that represent actual fireflies that are flying away from those bushes. Well, let's mark that off in the book as well now, because we have gotten that one completed right after the Wildflowers. And that, look, whoop, not a C, we want an X. And that means it's just the dry grasses. So I think we have to find a little bit warmer of an area, less moisture, less average day. Well, we got some sand over there. I think it is in the desert and or the mesa, the badlands, you know, that type of warmer, drier. Oh, wait, and we're also coming across the savanna out here. So if we fly around enough, hopefully we'll find it. But in the meantime, we just got a quick 2-for-1 there in that little local area. So let's keep things going and see if we can find our last bit, the short and dry long grasses. Or the short and long dry grasses. Grasses. Jeez. Help me out here. And it's safe to say this is becoming quite a trend. Alright, well, I took another little detour. I was actually flying over this village, was going to consider to come down and loot some of the chests, but as you can see directly over my head behind me, there are some new, different looking farm animals down here, and that is because in this new version, there is a temperate versions of farm animals. And in particular, we got these orange ones, those are the pigs, and these reddish ones are the cows. So this is a warm biome being a savanna, and now that these cows and pigs have generated here, we can see their new textures. They look definitely in theme with the temperature, and certainly have a little bit of cool new details. Of course, the horns on the cows, and our pig friends here that are orange looking all comfortable in this savanna biome. So another little distraction, but certainly checking off the unofficial list some of the new things in version 1.21.5. But of course, we've had enough distractions. We have to keep flying around and look for those tall and short dry grasses that we said we have in our book. And let's see if we can find them before this episode's out. That might be all of the features, as a matter of fact, which is kind of fortuitous if we can find them. Well, I did not have to go too far from that village to find yet another. Notice there weren't any chickens? Well, here's the warm biome chickens. There he is right there in the savanna. And there are tons of them out here too. Well, I guess the warmer chickens are more comfortable creating families, if you know what I'm saying, out here in the warm temperatures. Because there's so many of them out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Woo, look at all these chickens out here. But wow, we are really checking off all the things on the list, aren't we? Even though we didn't put them on the list, there they are, the warm chickens. So once again, it's time to take off, and hopefully we can find some of those tall grasses, short grasses, or maybe we'll find something else that we're forgetting that's on the version list in the meantime out here as we're flying around. And then we'll be done with all of the new items and be able to stop back at the Dark Castle and see what the next item on the agenda is. Alright, well, flying a little more in this direction, I saw the desert. I like this really cool hole, though. I have to come back to check that out. That would be an amazing spot to build, if you can see there below me. But also, looking there below me, we can see that there are some yellow items there, some yellow grasses, which are the ones we're looking for. Let's get down there, collect a couple up with our Silk Touch pickaxe. There's one. And let's see, can we find a tall one? Can we find a tall one? Is this a tall one? I mean, it looked a little bigger. Yeah, it is. Tall grass. Okay, so we got tall grass. We got short grass. I cannot spit this word out for the life of me during this episode. I know I've called them bushes. I've called them grass. I've called them glass. Whatever they are, we have them now so that we can recreate them back at our base using bone meal. So I do believe that might be all the items. Let's get into our book. And as far as the official items, short dry grass and long dry grass are both done. Boy, I really had to slow down to get that out. And of course, I put the natural fallen trees. I could probably add a couple other things like the pigs, cows, and chickens. Probably not going to find any of the cold ones today unless we see them on the way back, but that is everything. So that means it's time to get back to the Dark Castle, take stock of our inventory, and see how much time we have left in this episode. Because if we do have just a little bit more time, Before we get into decorations, all of these plants, of course, are involved with the concept of terraforming. And we said at our last episode that now that the Dark Castle has an outline in the central tower, we want to start terraforming it. And I have an idea to end this episode with a time lapse of something I've been working on offline. So let's get over there, we'll talk about it, and then see what we can do to wrap this thing up. All right, well, as we approach getting back to the Dark Castle here, we can see this overhanging terrain, and that's what we were talking about last time there behind us, how it kind of arches up and around and really just kind of hanging suspended in the air. So we want to start exploring terraforming, which is something I've really not gotten a lot into and definitely wanted to do a lot more of this season to kind of test the boundaries of what I've been able to do. And I want to start right here by trying to figure out a way to bring the ground down. Now, terraforming means to add to or alter the landscape as it is, and that being the case, we want to do a little terraforming right here by bringing like some support, something from the ground up that kind of has an arch or a structure similar to if we fly back on the other side. See how it's kind of held up. There's more of like a mountain, like an upward structure, and then there's a cross, so we want to go a downward structure. And we're going to do that right now in the form of a time lapse to get near the end of this episode, just to get something in place, something kind of basic we can add on to as we go. But sometimes half the battle is to just get started, get an outline, much like the tower itself, which we're planning on adding a lot more detail to. We'll add a little bit of terraforming here, and then have that as a base structure to be able to add more detail to in the future. So with that said, let's get ready to run this time lapse and get our building materials together. I gathered some in these couple of shulker boxes. We'll just kind of park them right down here outside and then get ready to start building, get it all done in one shot, and here we go. All right, well, as we can see there behind me, the structure is complete, at the very least, the outline, or kind of the base structure. As we fly away, we'll get a good little look at it turning around. And as you can see, like I said, just the basics, kind of the start to this thing, we can certainly add to it. We're going to need to add some details for sure, like greenery and maybe even some of the new plants that we found during this episode. And, you know, a little more beef to the structure, and make it a little more comprehensive to fit into the landscape. But like I said, we're really just getting started over here. I have plans to terraform this entire area all around the main island and then out into the desert. But I think that's about where we're going to end up for this episode. As a matter of fact, it's probably about where we're going to end the version 1.21.5 update, as short-lived as it was, because the 1.21.6 is about to be released tomorrow my time. So that means as soon as I can update the server and update the associated plugins and data packs and things that I have, I'll be able to start recording, and that means we should be having a Happy Ghast in our future very shortly, on top of all the new things that we intend to add around the Dark Castle location. So in the meantime, I want to thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.